Hey, everybody. Welcome to another one of our series of the 5-minute webinar. So today we want to focus on the notion of, can you answer the question, is what you're doing in your role in training and development, organization development, or human resources, is what you're doing helping the organization to gain and retain more customers?
And it really begs the question, are we speaking a different language than the leadership of our organizations? When we're talking about what's important to us as learning professionals, what are the common measures? We often talk about input measures or reaction measures. How well do the people like the program? Do they feel like it's going to be useful for them? How many people attended those programs? While those seem very important to us as learning professionals, when CEOs were asked about the important measures for learning, they almost unanimously talked about how unimportant these reaction measures are. 96% of CEOs surveyed, they wanted measures on business impact. But only 8% of them actually said they were getting those measures from their learning professionals. When we're talking about things like how do people like the training, what our CEOs are talking about is language like, what is the business impact? What is the alignment of what we're doing to our goals? What's our return on investment? That's a bit of a scary disconnect.
So the question that we have to ask ourselves is, are you a cost center or are you a value center? Because if we think about those statistics, most senior leaders within organizations probably view training and development as a cost center, as overhead. But what if they could see it as something that literally made the company more money? So how do we do that? So the question we want to encourage you to ask yourselves is, how can you link your training to gaining and retaining more customers? Does it make a better sale? Does it make a better customer service experience? And design training that links to business outcomes. So let's give you a couple of examples. So when we were doing some work with a major organization that tests electronic equipment, they were hit with a big finding from the government because they were unable to consistently bring people up to speed when it came to new employee training. It led to some inconsistencies around how they address testing, and it took anywhere from 18 to 24 months to get people up to speed. So we worked with them to redesign their onboarding to get it down to 6 weeks. And the experience of the folks that were brought in enabled them to reverse that government finding. It allowed them to keep customers that they would have lost as a result of that government finding. It also saved them $2 million in training costs as a result. That's a line of sight to the customer.
And continuing with that thought about line of sight, let's examine a bakery example in a supermarket. When we were approached about helping to develop a program for product knowledge inside the bakery, the company was looking at creating a new line of artisan breads, and what they wanted to do, train their people on how the bread was made and what the cost of the bread was and how to package the bread right. And all the things that you would expect that you'd want your people to know in a traditional sense. But here was the challenge. Where is the line of sight to the customer? And what we found is the challenge of the employee was not learning it, it was translating it for them. What we found out is really the question we were asking them were wrong. Instead of talking about what we want our employees to do, we changed it to say, what do we want our customers to feel? In other words, what would compel them to buy it? Did it make a difference? Well, absolutely. What we're seeing is an almost immediate spike in the sales of artisan bread. And sales translate directly to how we are interacting with our customers or a line of sight.
So the notion isn't necessarily to scrap everything that you're doing, because it's likely that what you're doing is pretty effective when it comes to giving people more skills. The thing that we're asking you to shift is your perspective around how do we view the role that we play as training and development professionals. How is the training that we're delivering to that new employee in the bakery or that new employee who's testing electronics, helping them to see their line of sight to the customer? And if you don't know how to answer that question, you should find somebody that does. Work with somebody who understands how to make that connection, like us.
Listen to our next webinar where we talk a little bit more about line of sight and how this concept can really help you to improve your training and your business.